Coming up today on the Locked On Hornets podcast, it looks like Mike D'Antoni is looking closer and closer to be the next head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. And we'll talk about the NBA draft lottery taking place tomorrow night, all on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
I'm Walker Mail alongside Doug Branson. You can follow us on Twitter at Walker Mail, at Doug Branson LOH, the show handle on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available on all platforms. And we have had a rough time trying to get this thing started today, but we are here and we're going to release a podcast to talk about your boy, Doug, Mike D'Antoni. Your daughter got a hold of your Apple Watch this weekend and texted me and Nick Angstad of the Locked On Locked On Mavs podcast. And she sent an actual song that said something like, "It's only you." I forget what the song was. But when that happened, I thought it was you sending that to us. And you were talking about Mike D'Antoni as who you would like to be the next head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. And it does look like the reports are he's certainly the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, having a baby and an Apple Watch is difficult. They are just naturally attracted to the bright lights and the screen. And when they touch it, it does something, and that's all very electric for them. I tell you, it kind of scares you as a parent, or at least it gives you a window into maybe your own psychology about how you react to your devices, seeing how this child who doesn't know anything about anything is just naturally reacting to this device. There's some stuff going on, people. Just keep your third eye open. That's all I'm saying.
Goodness gracious.
But yes, I am super excited about this news that it seems like Mike D'Antoni is the leader in the clubhouse. And honestly, it tells me, Walker, if Mike D'Antoni doesn't get this job, then the Hornets couldn't sell Mike D'Antoni, not the other way around.
I think that's probably true. It's funny. Mike D'Antoni talked on the Old Man and the Three podcast with JJ Redick, and he was discussing some of the Lakers days and why he chose that job, right? He said when he agreed to that, he thought Steve Nash was going to be healthy, and Mike Brown coaches the first 5 games, gets fired, right? We all remember his early exit, and Steve Nash was never right in a Lakers uniform. And he thought if Steve Nash could have been healthy, then they could have really contended, but they make the playoffs, but never really again. They're never really a championship contender at all. But it's interesting to hear him kind of talk about that because, of course, it's going to take two parties. It's going to take an interested one on the franchise's part, and it's going to take an interested one on whoever takes that job. Some are more desperate than others. If you're an assistant coach looking to break into the game, maybe the Hornets are an attractive job for you. Maybe Mike D'Antoni is attracted because you have LaMelo Ball, one of the better young and upcoming point guards in the NBA today. That has to be the selling point. But you're right. If eventually this marriage doesn't ever happen, then it probably is because D'Antoni isn't viewing this as attractive of a job, whether it's pay, whether he's just like, you know what, I don't think this roster can do it, whether he wants personnel control and Charlotte decides to back off and say, nope, well, we're not going to have it. But according to Mark Stein over the weekend, he did report that league circles are kind of looking towards D'Antoni being the next head coach. Charlotte is interested in pairing D'Antoni with LaMelo Ball and having the offense play through him, he being the guy that leads everything around that part of the floor. And so all good stuff, right? We can get into some of the other things about D'Antoni, but that's clearly, even with me wanting a couple of these assistant coaches instead of D'Antoni, you have to be excited about what he can do with the LaMelo. And that was always going to be the case because of his relationship with other star point guards in the past.
And that really breaks down our disagreement on this issue. You want an assistant coach. I would like a head coach. I'd like a head coach that won 50 games, that has tasted.
You said it. You said it again.
This 50. Tasted the sweet nectar of a conference finals, something this Hornets franchise, even in the glory days of the mid 90s and the late 90s, early aughts, they never tasted a conference finals. Mike D'Antoni knows what that's all about. And I think that's important on a team that doesn't have a ton of playoff experience. But I'm just going to close my eyes for a second, Walker, if you'll allow me. I'm just going to imagine Mike D'Antoni coming in and working with LaMelo Ball on offense. Just on offense. I know there are defensive issues, but I'm just going to close my eyes and just imagine. Here we go. Ooh. Yes. Oh. Yes,
You like
that was
that?
amazing. I encourage everyone, unless you're driving, to do that. Just close your eyes and imagine Mike D'Antoni and LaMelo Ball and how fun that was.
Was that pleasurable for you? Thinking about that
was
relationship?
good for me, man.
Yeah,
It was great.
Look, I could tell.
Here's the thing, Walker. The Hornets need to do something. Like, make a call. Like, let's get this thing in the books. I mean, we've got the lottery coming up tomorrow. I mean, the combine's coming up. Like, the head coach, I think there's a lot of, draft process is going to be a lot of general manager. But if you're planning on giving Mike D'Antoni or whoever personnel decisions, then we need to, let's accelerate this process a little bit. I'm ready to hear something.
Yeah, so a couple of the things real quickly before we move on to maybe some of the pros and cons, also talk about the NBA draft lottery. The thing about D'Antoni is when we've seen him with the Houston Rockets, his most recent time being a head coach. After his tenure with the Rockets, he was an assistant on that Nets staff, and then last year he was a consultant with the New Orleans Pelicans. So the most recent time we've seen him as a head coach is of the Houston Rockets, James Harden led, and we've seen that try to work with Russell Westbrook. We saw that try to work with Chris Paul. And Chris Paul, it all came crashing down because of his relationship with James Harden. Chris Paul also aging at that time, even though he's rebounded. Then the Phoenix Suns game happened last night, whatever that game 7 was. That was freaking brutal. But we know that his relationship with that position and or able to tailor players to that position has been absolutely incredible. He made that call for James Harden to just say, you know what? We're going to run this offense through you, and we're at least going to get to the conference finals because of it. And we're going to win a ton of games. We're going to have a crazy good offense because of it. Steve Nash, I saw an article on CBS Sports, and the wording, I think it was from Sam Quinn. It said he helped Steve Nash and James Harden to MVP season. I don't know if it matters, but we do know that D'Antoni can at least help LaMelo Ball with that offense. And I saw Andy Bailey tweet over the weekend too, said, I can't wait to see LaMelo's numbers. That is clearly the driving force, right? It is not because of anything else too much so before the fact that it is LaMelo is our star and we want to put the right coach next to him. And what's weird about this too, it's not necessarily LaMelo's choice because based off reporting, and there was only one, but LaMelo was interested in having Mark Jackson. But it's not that the Charlotte Hornets are giving in to LaMelo's every demand. Hey, we'll do whatever you want. It's like, no, we want to do what is best for you and this franchise, but we think this is the best route, and that's what we're going to do. And I find that pretty interesting on part of the Charlotte Hornets.
You have to listen, but at this point in LaMelo's, I think, life cycle as an NBA player, he's not to the level such that he can make that kind of demand. And I don't think he's making any kind of demands on who will or will not be the head coach. But certainly you should listen to what he has to say on any name that you bring in.
And we'll see exactly how much they listen to LaMelo Ball. And we'll continue to talk about the coaching search. But coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast, we'll talk a little more about the NBA draft lottery taking place tomorrow night. We've done the simulations. We've done that a million times, and we've actually had some luck with the Charlotte Hornets going up that list, climbing up the ladder to get a better pick. We'll see if it actually takes place in reality. All right, we'll move on and talk a little more about that. But I want to talk to you about another partner here with us on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Feeling your best starts with what you eat. Sakara helps you live a healthy, balanced lifestyle and truly enjoy it with delicious, plant-rich, transformational nutrition that builds a foundation for living in your best body. Now is the time to seek wellness, joy, and an abundance in all areas of your life, starting with what you eat. With Sakara, you get nutrient-dense meals, snacks, and supplements that nourish your body without ever sacrificing taste or quality. True radiance starts on your plate, made with high-quality organic ingredients. Sakara's plant-rich, transformational nutrition programs are expertly designed to deliver real results, from reduced bloat and eased digestion to clear skin and boosted energy and moods as well. Looking and feeling your best shouldn't mean deprivation. Instead, you can choose joy and abundance. Sakara's organic, plant-rich, transformational nutrition programs are designed to help you cultivate body intelligence so you can nourish your body and experience the results you want. Sakara is a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. Sakara gives you the tools you need to transform your life with their organic, ready-to-eat meal delivery program and functional wellness essentials. The nutritionally designed, chef-crafted breakfast, lunch, dinners, all of them are made with powerful plant-rich ingredients. So right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/lockedon20 or enter code lockedon20 at checkout. Either one. That's Sakara, sakara.com/lockedon20 to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/lockedon20. Can the Hornets get lucky tomorrow? We'll talk about that next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold, her early leafs a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down to day. Nothing gold can stay.
We need the boys to mend with that now.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
We'll kick it over to another draft lottery simulation. One of the last ones, not the last one. We still have a couple more we can play with tomorrow to try to amp up the good luck for us that really the Hornets have only experienced once in like the last decade, 15 years, 20 years. It's been a long time. And when they finally got it, it was LaMelo Ball. Doug, I still remember watching that draft lottery, and I think the Hornets were supposed to pick like 8th when they moved up to go get LaMelo. And then they reveal the card. It is not the logo of the Charlotte Hornets. And everybody on Twitter starts freaking out. It is such a good feeling when you don't see the logo. And finally, at number 3, even if it wasn't number 1, we all felt really good. And eventually that was probably even better for the Hornets. They probably would have taken James Wiseman. I don't know if you know, the Hornets have needed a center for a long time. They might have just crossed that off of their list, quote unquote, with James Wiseman, but LaMelo falls. You got to take him at that point, certainly. And that was the good luck. Charlotte, don't know if they're going to get good luck this time around, Doug. What are the odds for the Hornets come tomorrow night?
Yeah, so the odds for the team in the 8th position is 26.3% to get into the top 4. And then number 1 overall, that's 6%. But if you drop down to 13, where Charlotte currently resides, those percentages drop pretty significantly. So it's 7.1% to get into the top 4, 1.5% to get number 1 overall. I'll say that the LaMelo Ball draft, that even had some extra sauce to it because the Hornets and Bobcats literally never got lucky. They never moved up, or at least the Bobcats version into the Hornets.
I think you had to go to Diddy. I think Baron Davis was the last time that they had received good luck.
Yeah, and so that had some extra special sauce to it. This would be incredible because there are so many good players at the top of this draft, but it won't have that same special feeling, but I'm still hoping for it. 7.1%. Those are long odds, but it's not impossible, Walker.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that we've seen the Hornets in our simulations. And I think even the Locked On simulation, they've had some luck. They've moved up twice now. So the odds are maybe that it can't happen again, but hopefully reality and virtual reality, it's not the same thing. And the Hornets can get some good luck. What also was interesting about that draft, Doug, is the fact that you had James Wiseman, Anthony Edwards, and LaMelo as pretty clearly the top 3. You know, Onyeka Okongwu was somebody that we experimented with quite a bit because I know a lot of draft nerds really liked him, his ability to play drop, even being smaller, but also just switching on the perimeter. And the Hornets needed a center. Like, that's what they needed. And there were some legitimate questions about LaMelo Ball shooting coming overseas back to the States because he had not shot the ball well in the prior season. But clearly he's been doing excellent in that regard. Still, I think widely considered a top 3 player draft. If the Hornets get lucky in this year's draft class, if they get into the top 4, there's talent there. My interesting scenario is if they get to the top 4 and they get that 4th overall selection, let's say Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith, they're all off the board. All of those guys would be, I think, the pick for the Charlotte Hornets at that time. And then here you are at 4. Jaden Ivey, I think, is that guy that for just normal standards, if you don't need any position, you take the best player, and Jaden Ivey would be the guy. Mm-hmm. I love him. I think he's so smart. He's fun to watch. He was awesome this year at Purdue. I'm one of those that I would take Jaden Ivey Because I think it's probably too early for Mark Williams and Jalen Duren. You have that 15th pick too, remember? So maybe you could play with it. Maybe you could trade back and get something in return. I don't know, right? But if you were to take that player, that's what's interesting to me, Doug. Like, what would you do if Jaden Ivey was supposed to be that next guy, but also, of course, you already have a point guard? Like, I just that's the interesting scenario to me. I don't even know what you would do there. Maybe you can't even take them.
Well, I think they would have to do everything. If, let's say, Banchero goes off the board 1 or 2, then I think it really gets interesting, because I'm not sure it would be intelligent for the Charlotte Hornets to trade up to 3 to get Banchero.
Yeah.
Okay. But if Chet Holmgren or Jabari Smith are there at 3, or at least have the possibility to be there at 3, then you have to seriously consider packaging 4 and 15 for 3. I talked to my guy Zach Blackerby over at the Locked On Auburn podcast. I was like, give me the skinny on Jabari Smith. What can he do? What can he do? Can he play D? How well is he as a defender? Like, what's he doing here? And Zach texted me, he can do everything but dribble. And I said, perfect, fine.
Ooh.
No, he doesn't. I don't want him to dribble. You can teach him to dribble. You can teach him to dribble. I can teach little kids how to dribble. You can teach people how to dribble. Okay, that's not a problem. But if he can do everything other than that, then that sounds good to me. So Jabari Smith, Chet Holmgren, I think you have to seriously consider packaging 4 and 15 for 3.
Yeah,
I'm ready to send this lottery. You're getting me all hype. I'm ready to do it.
You got it? All right, go ahead. Let's sim it, and then we'll move on. But let's go ahead and scratch that itch for you, Doug. Go ahead and sim the lottery and tell us what we get.
Here we go. Beep, boop, 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 beep. And Charlotte, actually, we went down. We went down one spot to 14. Somehow.
That's good. Hey, look, a bad dress rehearsal usually means for a good play. Hopefully that is what's taking place.
So let me break down what happened here for the audio listeners. So San Antonio moved up 8 spots to get the first pick. Cleveland moved up 12 spots to get the second pick. And the Oklahoma City Thunder, by way of the Los Angeles Clippers, move up 9 spots to get the third pick. This is a highly unlikely scenario where you have somebody in the top 4 with a 20% chance, a 2.4% chance, and a 7.1% chance. And that's what dropped Charlotte, is the fact that Cleveland, who sits below them at 14, moved up 12 spots to get into the 2 slot. This would be a nightmare scenario for Charlotte as they move into the 14th slot. But now the benefit here, if anyone's a fantasy drafter, like, there's nothing like having back-to-back picks. You get to strategize. You're like, it doesn't matter who I take with the 14th pick. I got the 15th pick. So snake draft style, they're going to have the 14th and 15th pick in this scenario if there's any silver lining.
All right. So hopefully that has balanced the scale, right? We had good luck prior, had bad luck in this one. Hopefully at least
tomorrow, we're going to find out ground. Tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll find out tomorrow, and we'll give you the last couple of draft sims on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Coming up next, though, on Locked On Hornets. We'll talk a little more about some of our takes from the NBA playoffs. I think there's an interesting Charlotte Hornets storyline surrounding what just took place with the Phoenix Suns last night. Just a brutal game on part of Phoenix where they get destroyed in a Game 7, and eventually it's the Dallas Mavericks moving on to the Western Conference Finals. We'll talk about a relating storyline for the Charlotte Hornets in just a moment, but I do want to talk about Built Bar first. I just received my birthday cake puffs, a part of Built Bar. They're excellent, as is always the limited flavors that are a part of Built Bar. I've never had anything like this one, though, before. They're available.
Can I break in here? I never do this.
Please do.
I never do this.
Go ahead.
If you've been watching the show and you do watch these ad reads, you know I never break in. I leave the radio professional here, Walker Mail, to do the Built Bar and all these other ad reads, right? I have to step in here and say that I also got a box of the Puffs. It's like my daily breakfast now. It's that good. I like the texture. It's sweet. But then I look at the back of the package and I go, hey, a bagel and cream cheese is more calories than this bad boy. Fills me up. It's all good. Anyway, back to Walker. Thank you for the time.
The problem with trying to oversell one product over another is that they won't believe you. Listeners won't believe you for some of the other products. I will go ahead and venture out into that dangerous territory and tell you, guys, it is legit. I mean, everybody at Locked On loves these things. It's true. I eat them for breakfast as well. They are phenomenal. When I get them, it is just like Christmas morning for me, especially when you get that free box. That is the perk of being a Locked On host. But you can get them for a good deal too at Built.com. Just use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off of your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. You can order something that is delicious, but also healthy for you too, low in calories, low in sugar, but also high in protein and high in fiber. Let's give our NBA playoff takes coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
Have you fallen out of love with Lonnie Walker yet, or are you still in love with him?
I think there's still a chance.
Yeah, I know.
Still a chance.
Yeah.
I think he playing pretty well right now.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
I just want to say, Walker, I have no idea what this segment is about. I can't. This is a blind segment for me. I listened to your promo of the segment, and I'm like, I have no idea where he's going with this. So I am as interested and as unknowing as the listener right now. Go ahead.
I very briefly mentioned that we had some struggles putting this episode together, and gets lost in the sauce is the content, right? We have to figure out how to bring this to you, and then we have to figure out what we're going to bring to you. So this is coming up off of the fly. But Doug, I saw a conversation on Twitter last night that I do think is interesting surrounding Hornets Village, if you will. And it's the fact that, one, not only did the Phoenix Suns get destroyed, but there was a sub-story within just an awful one for Phoenix, right? Not only Chris Paul, not good. He's got his injury that he's dealing with. We're going to maybe get more information on that. Devin Booker, your boy, surprised you haven't mentioned Devin
Huge.
Snooker.
I mean, come on. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know my feelings on Devin Booker, a.k.a. I call him, say it with me, everyone. 1, 2, 3, Devin Snooker.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it was close. We got to sync it up, but it was close. Devin Snooker, he was on full display. Give me a break. This guy's a joke. I think all the people are joking about CP3. Forget CP3. The joke should be about Devin Booker. That guy's never going to win a championship. Get out of here.
All right. So yeah, they're the strong feelings that continue for Doug on Devin Booker. But DeAndre Ayton, Doug, his future is uncertain. And the Charlotte Hornets need a big
name
guy.
You weren't hearing in that series a lot at all.
I mean, and until last night when he played 17 minutes, I think there was one last just kind of awful defensive play, immediately gets taken out by Monty Williams. There is the video of him passing Monty, the head coach for Phoenix. DeAndre says something. Monty says, "Excuse me, what did you say?" And there is some beef between those two right now. Asked about it after the game, Monty said, "We're going to keep that internal. Like that we're not going to bring that to the public, whatever problems they're going through right now." DeAndre Ayton did not get an extension this past season, even though he was extension eligible. He's looking for that max offer. I thought he was going to get it after I expected Phoenix to at least get to the NBA Finals again before they played Boston, Milwaukee, whoever at that time. DeAndre was a non-factor. He was a non-factor last night. Phoenix struggled quite a bit. But, Doug, clearly, I mean, I love DeAndre's game. Defensively, he's grown so much. He's really good in that area. He's an awesome offensive player. I think he would be great, too, with LaMelo. And now I think there's an actual shot that he could get away from Phoenix. It's still not likely. You'd have to trade Miles. Yeah, I don't know. It just, is there a possibility, Doug? It seems to have grown from last night.
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility. I mean, these are the kinds of opportunities, disgruntled star potential player that, bad situation. If he goes somewhere else, there's an opportunity. Not a lot of history with at least as far as I know, with DeAndre Ayton and being like a problem. It just seems like this was a bad situation from the jump. And, he's surrounded by, I think, a lot of players that need the ball in their hands a lot. That wouldn't necessarily be the case in Charlotte when you're playing with someone like LaMelo Ball, who's just great at distributing, great at making bigs look better than they are. We had planned to talk about Mason Plumlee. That's going to come up tomorrow, but he made Mason Plumlee offensively look a lot better than probably Mason Plumlee actually is, and that's what LaMelo can do. So there is absolutely an opportunity. The cost would be high. I mean, Phoenix has all of the leverage here. Yeah, I agree with you. It probably would take a drastic move, like a sign and trade for Miles Bridges, reunite the Bridges who are not actually related, Mikal Bridges and Miles Bridges. That would be interesting for Phoenix. I think it's a player that, Phoenix could use on their team. It would be devastating as a fan of Miles Bridges, and I think you would have to sell LaMelo on it and say, hey, LaMelo, I know this is your buddy, this is your guy, this is your friend, but we're about to bring in somebody. Let's talk about all the things that Deandre Ayton can do for your game. And I think it would be an easy sell at that point. It would shake this franchise up in a way that I think would be beneficial for years to come.
If you were desperate to hang on to Miles, could you get away with some kind of Gordon Terry salary match with just first picks and young guys galore? Is there a path there?
I don't think Phoenix is in any position to want it. They don't need to do that. So that's the thing. All these trade scenarios that we've come up for Gordon Hayward, it's situations where teams can go, all right, because of our situation, we're willing to take the risk on Gordon Hayward. Phoenix is just not in any kind of position to take that kind of risk.
All right. So what about a Terry PJ first rounders type of package? Would that be something that intrigues Phoenix enough?
I personally don't think so. Okay. I think they would be looking for, because it's not just about the picks. Like the picks, that they'll get those. But I think for them, it's got to be about what are the players that can come in, fit this current roster, fit Devin Booker, fit however long CP3 is going to be around. I think Miles is that fit. It makes too much sense. We haven't heard any kind of rumors, but I think they'll start to heat up as this offense gets started for real.
Yeah, I think those conversations we'll continue to have here on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Because
can't wait. Love the offseason. It's getting juicy. Got the NBA lottery. I'm stoked. Do you have any real quick before we go, do you have any superstitions? You going to wear anything? You going to do anything for this Hornets lottery?
No, I don't think I do. Usually I just sit in nervousness and anxiety, hoping the best for the Hornets. And the one time it panned out, that's the only thing I really do.
I'm going to have the Eldon Campbell beanie baby right on the old leg. Just wait. I'll have my daughter. I'll have my daughter in one arm. I'll have beanie baby in the other arm. Those are going to be, and that my daughter is a Hornets good luck charm. When she was born right around the time the Hornets started the season, and they got off to a great start. And whenever I held her for the entirety of the game, the Hornets won. So she's totally a good luck charm. I'm going to be holding her in one arm. She's going to be crying, and my wife's going to be like, no, she needs to go to sleep. I'm like, not now, honey. The Hornets have to get this pick.
Producer Katie, you got to understand, these are trying times. We need to go ahead and have this happen for the better of the Charlotte Hornets. And I need you, Doug, to hold on to both your child and the Eldon Campbell beanie baby with the most amount of security as possibly given. Both of them are sacred to this. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do that. Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every day. Make your second listen Locked On NBA, from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insights and analysis affecting all 30 teams. Tomorrow, it's the draft lottery. We'll have you covered right here on the Locked On Hornets podcast.